About 45 years ago, Jews were crowded like cattle against their will to be together on their final journey before extermination. Tonight we gather friends, neighbors, and family to be once again a bit crowded, and for that, I'm sorry. This time of our own volition. I thank you very much for coming. Let us enjoy being together and open our hearts that we may hear. I've heard Rabbi Kahane introduced on a number of occasions, and sometimes by saying I'd like to introduce someone who needs no introduction, I always felt that was a bit of a slight for Rabbi Kahane. It is difficult to appreciate properly someone whether we know him well or not, whether we're either too close or too far. He's too modest. The publicity that he has sought, the danger that he's placed himself in, has been not for him, but for us, for Klal Yisrael. We consider it a threefold covenant honor and bracha blessing to have Rabbi Kahane here to address you, my dear and chashuv important friends. Number one, Rabbi Kahane is a Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar. While we rise to Wheaties, the breakfast of champions, he rises daily, very early, to begin his full day with a Torah shiur to learn Torah. Anyone who has traveled with Rabbi Kahane knows and can attest that he never takes his eyes out of a sefer. Number two, he is a Rav, a Talmud of Meir Yeshiva Mazmid, one of the great Mosdes, one of the Torah institutions of the world. Number three, he's a Kohen whose life work is to serve Hashem and to bless Hashem's people. At this time, I am overwhelmed to be able to introduce to you one of the people who has had such a tremendous impact on my life in terms of bringing us close to Yiddishkeit, teaching us true Ahavas Yisrael, love of fellow Jews, and Mesiras Nefesh, to give of one's all to help Jews. There was a Rabbi Akiva, a scholar, and there was a Bar Kokhba, a hero. History will one day, I'm sure, place Rabbi Kahane as the hero of our generation. Let us rise to give honor to Rabbi Meir David ben Harav Yefes L'Shrang HaKohen, Rabbi Meir Kahane.
Good introduction. Yeah, for that I have to hold up to it. In the Chumash, Parshat Eikev, Torah speaks about walking in God's footsteps. To walk in all his ways, to cleave unto him. To cleave unto God. Concerning this, the Ibn Ezra says, Udafkabo, V'hu sod gadol, and this is a great secret. Period. And he leaves it as a very great secret. And people ask, what does the Ibn Ezra see in this as a great secret? And what is the great secret? And in the words to cleave unto God. Udafka, like the word devik, glue. The Aviezer is a rush, a commentary on the Ibn Ezra. And one of the great insights is that which he gives on the words of the Ibn Ezra. The words to cleave unto God hold within them so gadol, a great secret. It's a secret for each of us to understand. And the Aviezer says as follows. Nechonim derei harav. The words of the Rav, the Ibn Ezra, are correct. Kisod Hashem v'yireav. The secret of the Lord is to those who fear Him. Hadvukim b'midotav, and those who cleave onto His attributes. U'badvekut atzmo v'yisod atzmo. In the very act of cleaving onto God, there is an enormous secret. Shelo lachlif avodat ish ba'achiv. Not to exchange one attribute for a second. To cleave onto the attribute at the proper time. Shelo la'achlif avodat ish be'achiv. Not to exchange. Ve'le'achoz berachmanut b'makom shetzarich kas. And to cleave onto mercy at a time when one should not cleave to mercy, but rather cleave onto anger. It's a time for mercy. It's a time for anger. And the Jew cleaves onto God, cleaves onto anger when God tells him to be angry, cleaves onto mercy when God tells him to be merciful. Or shelo lachzik ve'anava, or not to cleave, not to hold on to modesty, be humble. The makom shetzarich lehalbish nikama, a time when one should cloak himself in vengeance. It's a time to be humble. It's a time to demand vengeance. And one has to know exactly when. Umuatim heima b'nei aliyah. Few are the people of greatness. Asher yochazum b'midot al derech emet ve'en posher ba. Who can cleave onto these midot and malot, attributes properly, and not stumble over them. Eloheim hagdolim asher ha'aretz. They are the great ones. What is he saying? The tragedy of our time is the fact that the Jew, the Orthodox Jew, is not prepared to accept upon himself the concept of Ol Malchut Shamayim, the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. And Ol is a yoke, and the yoke is heavy. Ask him. And the ox, a yoke is heavy. And the yoke is there to ensure that he goes in the pillar, in the furrow, and doesn't move the sun. The tragedy of the Jewish people is, the religious Jews, is the fact that we forget that the basis of Judaism are the concepts, the midos, the concepts, the musagim. And the mitzvah that we do, the ritual, the ritual, is only an outer manifestation of the inner concept. You have to know the concept, or else what good is the ritual? And how many Jews are there who believe in mitzvahs and not in God? And how many Jews are there who are Orthodox Jews and not religious Jews? a religious Jewish woman, who learns the mitzvah, and despite the fact that it is difficult for him to accept the concept, he says, Dafka bo, and I will cleave unto God because he knows better. What is it that causes people? What is it that causes people not to do the difficult mitzvot and not to follow the difficult concept? What is it? There are several. The Meir tells us in Sanhedrin. There was once in the time of the Bayit Sheni, Second Temple, the king Yanai Hamed. Yanai. He was of the Maccabees, Hashmonaim. He was not a good king. He was a bad king. He was a still king. He was a bad king, a dangerous king. Killed Jews and so on. He was a Jew, but and the Meir tells us that his servant, his slave, his Eved Knan, his non-Jewish slave, killed a man. So he brought the slave up before Sanhedrin. But since a non-Jewish slave is considered property, like a show, like an house, you must also bring the owner up before the court. So they sent a husband or something. The king, before the court. He appeared, came to the court, the Sanhedrin, and he sat down. The law is that when one appears before a Jewish court, one has to stand, because God's presence is in the court. So Shimon ben Shattach, who was the Nasi, the head of the Sanhedrin, and also the brother-in-law, turned to Yanai and said to him, Yanai HaMelech Amod al Raklech. Stand. It's not before us that you are, but before God. So Yanai said to him, Lo kemo shata omer, I will not do as you say. Ele kemo she'omrim haverechem. If they will tell the Sanhedrin, if they will tell me to stand, I will stand. Anali mino, turn to his right. They would sit, the Sanhedrin sat in some Israel. He turned to his right. Kapshu pneihem bakal. They all looked. The main thing is not to look him in the eye, and to have to tell him, and have to tell him, stand. Hanale smolo, he turned to his left. Kapshu pneihem. They also look to the sun. Who wants out to tell the king to stand up? He's a dangerous king, so. Shimon ben Shattach said to them, you are people with all kinds of thoughts. I won't look, I won't see, I won't know. Let the one who made thoughts come. We're talking about the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin. We're talking about Gedolim. Afraid to tell the king the truth. I didn't make up the story. First of all, fear is a thing that keeps people from saying emes, truth. They know what truth is. No one has to tell people what truth is. People know what truth is, but fear is the first thing that keeps people from admitting it. First of all, fear. Secondly, love. The Meir tells us in Sota about another king, Gripas Amelech. He was also he was partially from the Maccabees, from the Hashmonaim. His mother was Jewish and from the royal line, but his father was a convert. And by Jewish law, despite the fact that he is a Jew, mother is Jew. In order to be a king, Tosfos says that the father and mother had to have been born Jewish. The king is special. So the Gemara tells us the following story. It used to be a mitzvah called Hakeh. On Sukkot of the 8th year, right after Shemitah, all the Jews were gathered in Yerushalayim, and the king would read from the Mishnah Torah Devarim, Sefer Devarim. And Agrippas was a good king. First of all, he was frugal. So he was a good king, and the people loved him. And so he started reading the Torah, and he came to the portion of the Melech. The Melech in Parashat Shoftim. Came to the portion of the Melech, and he read the words, V'kerev achecha tasim alecha melech. And he started to cry, because he knew that he was not proper, because his father was, and he was born Gentile. He knew that he wasn't proper, and he started to cry. People said to him, Achinu ata, you are our brother. Because they loved him, a good king. So they liked him, and they twisted the what, and of love for him. The Gemara says, Tasha, that moment, the Baruch Hu decreed upon them a destruction. Because they flattered, and by flattering they twisted the law. They refused to say the truth. So the failure to accept on ourselves the yoke of heaven, to say the truth whether it hurts, it can be twisted, one, because of fear, secondly, because of love, and thirdly, that's especially for our times, because of the fact that the Jewish people lives in Galut, and when one is a minority within a majority Goyish culture, he must be affected by non-Jewish concepts which conflict with Jewish concepts, and he's not prepared to accept Jewish concepts which he thinks are not fair, isn't nice. Concerning that, the Ramban, Parshat Eikev, says something which goes right to the heart of this problem. The Torah speaks about entering the land of Canaan and orders, Ve'achalta et kol ha'amim, you shall devour all the nations. Lo tachos eincha alehem, don't have pity on them. The Ramban says concerning that, Lo tachos eincha alehem, he says a magnificent thing that every Jew should learn by heart. Ki berachmanut hatipshim yovad kol mishpat. Because through the mercy of fools, all justice is. Rachmanut shel tipshim. What a magnificent phrase. The mercy of fools. Of course there is a concept called Rachmanut, mercy. Of course there is. And Jews are merciful. Rachmanim b'nei Rachmanim. We are merciful children of merciful. There is mercy, and then there is the Rachmanut shel tipshim, the mercy of fools, which would grant mercy to evil people who, if they will survive, will kill merciful people and destroy justice. And we suffer today from this disease of Rahmanut Shotipshin. How can you throw the Arabs? It's nice. Every Jew that has been killed in Israel since 1948, when the Jews should have thrown out all the Arabs and did not, died through Rahmanut Shotipshin. Orach Chaim also says on this. Lo tachos eincha, you shall not have mercy on them. Al that, similar to the pasuk in Mishlei, the Rachamei Rishayim Achzarim, the mercy of the wicked is cruel. The mercy of the wicked is cruel. I purposely wanted to speak here this evening, not a speech, but more of a shiur. Because I'm not a politician. I'm a rabbi who's in politics. And the things that I say, that's not my thing. That's Torah. That's pure Torah. Unaffected by the sharpness, by the admixture of goyish concepts which have entered the shul and the yeshiva and the Torah world. It's a natural thing. You can't live as a minority among goyim and not be affected by their concepts. You can't send your child to a yeshiva where he also learns about Thomas Jefferson and expect him to have pure Torah concepts. The best that can be is they don't think that Judaism is Thomas Jefferson. That's why people say, Kahane is terrible. If the Rambam would be alive, he would vote for Kahane. Question. So I want to discuss with you this concept, and also the concept of why the halacha says that the status of a non-Jew, Eretz Israel, has to be a certain way. And let's clearly analyze what this is. When the Kodesh Baruch Hu took the Jews out of Israel, when he freed the Jews out of Egypt, from Egypt, the Ramban points out in Shmot, in Paragim, he points out that the Kodesh Baruch Hu did two things, and he puts it this way: Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu amar leMoshe shnei dvarim. The Kodesh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu two things. שירד להצילו מיד, that he should go down to Egypt and to save the Jews from Egypt, from slavery. It would be possible for him to do these miracles and save the Jews. There is Goshen Atzma. He could have done miracles. Egypt would have collapsed, capitulated, let the Jews be free. The Jews could have stayed in Eretz Goshen. But he promised a second thing. One, to free the Jews. And two, to take the people out, min ha'aretzai, from that country, kula, totally, el mekom ha'knani, to the land of the Knani. So the Ramban points out two things. The Kodesh Baruch Hu freed the Jews, and he didn't say, now you're free to go to West Lawrence. By the way, impressed by the change in the name. He didn't even tell him to go to East Lawrence. He didn't tell the. He said two things. Freely free. I'm freeing you, and now whether you like it or not, you're going up to Eretz Yisrael. And the Jews who refused to leave died in Nakat, Achosha. In the plague of darkness, the Jews who did not want to died. And only 1/5 of the Jewish people left. 4/5 stayed. Maybe you say so. 1/5 left. Some say 1/50th left. 1/500th left. 1/5 left. 80% of the Jews didn't want to go. Eretz Canaan was a great place to visit. So, the Ramban points out this. There were two things, and the second was that the Jew had to live in Eretz Yisrael. So the question is why? Why? After all, to be a good Catholic, you don't have to live in Rome. Be a good Catholic anywhere. Even be a good Muslim, you don't have to live in Mecca. You have to go there once in a lifetime on a Hajj, and that's that. But to be a good Jew, you have to live in Eretz Yisrael. Why? Why? So Ibn Ezra in Bet Hanan says the following. Ki Hashem yada shelo yuchlu lasot mitzvotav karaui veheim ba'aratzot hamoshlim b'hem. Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu knew that the Jews could not keep the mitzvot karaui properly if they lived in countries that knew over them. You can do the mitzvah, no question about it, but the key word is karaui. Properly. Without, you live among the goyim under the majority culture, like gamma rays, that culture hits at you. It enters you. Newspapers, television, magazines, the air that you breathe. Of course it affects you. A Jew has to be affected. The German Orthodox Jew, the Frum Jew, was different than the Polish Orthodox Jew. Because the German Orthodox Jew was like the German. Was like the German. Heine once said, "Wie es Christus sich, das Juden sich." The way it Christianizes, so it Judaizes. Of course, certainly. The German Orthodox Jew went to college. Some question. Of course, go to college. A Polish Orthodox Jew will go to college. Hey, it's a chazan. Because that was Germany and that was Poland. And the influence was clear. An American Orthodox Jew, the modern Orthodox, a new concept, modern Orthodox, the modern Orthodox. So they behave a certain way. And the reason why is because they are Americans and from Jews. And they try to graft one onto the other. And even as I said, possible to keep the mitzvot karaui properly as long as we live under other nations. And the Sforno says the same concept. Avadim hayinu efaro b'Yisrael. Pasuk. It's not only in the Haggadah, it's also it's a pasuk. He says the following: Avadim hayinu efaro. ובהיות שבעבדותנו לא היינו יכולים לקנות השלמות המכוון לעיתון. And since in our servitude, in our slavery, we were not able to acquire the shlemut, the completeness, the totality that was directed from Hashem. He fleed our souls. He did wondrously. L'hotzienu, to take us out of Egypt. Ulhavi otanu el and to take us out and to bring us to the land. Shenuchal liknot ba ota shlemut. That only there could we acquire that completeness, that totality. The Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted the Jew to live in isolation. Hein am levadad yishkom. Lo, it is a nation that dwells alone. And the Medrash says in the Shalach, what does this kind of hein am levadad mean? What hein? So in the end we say lo, it is a lo. Hey, that's good for poetry, but what's hein? What's hein? And Medrash says, if you want to take, in Hebrew, of course, the letters are also letters and also numerals. If you want to take any two letters to make up the number 10, there are two letters. You can take a tet and an aleph, nine and a one, a chet and a bet, a sign and a gimel, a vav and a dalet. Once you reach hey, only another hey. Hey and hey. Hey and hey make up 10. There's no, hey can only have a second hey. The same with 100 too. One have kufa. 100, so you got sabi, 90 units. So on and so on. When it comes to noon 50, only a noon and a noon can make up 100. Hein just as the hey must go with the hey, and a noon with a noon, hein am levadad yishkom. The Jewish people must live alone, only with other Jews. It's my book. Isn't mine. I'm not that small. The Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted the Jew to live in his own country and not to mingle with Goyim, because that would take away from the shlemut. And he would be influenced by all the Hellenism and all the Goyishkeit and so on. And that's why the Kodesh Baruch Hu insisted that the Jewish people live all in only one country in as much isolation as possible. Shlemut, instead of this admixture, Shabbos. Now, if that is true, if the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants the Jews to live in their own country so as to build a specific, a unique, a separate Torah society, so as to separate us from that, so that we should build our special, unique thing. Is it conceivable? Is it conceivable that the Kodesh Baruch Hu therefore said, and it shall be a democratic state in which Goyim will have a right to decide what the society shall be like? Of course not, and that's why the very first thing, while they were still in the Yarden, a magnificent story is told in the Gemara. When the Jews reached the Jordan, in 40 years they finally made it. Now they're about to cross over from the eastern half of the Jordan to the western half of the Jordan. Kodesh Baruch Hu performed a great miracle, and he split the Jordan River. But unlike Kriyat Yam Suf, the Red Sea, a sea is not the river. He split the Red Sea, he split the sea, and on both sides the water stood, and so on. But a river flows. In order to stop it, you have to stop the river. And so it's true that it stopped at this point, but it keeps flowing. So what happens to the water? The water keeps rising. It comes down and stops and rises. And that's what happened. And the Gemara tells us that as the Jews were rapidly crossing, the rivers rose to a height of Yud Bet Mil of Yud Bet Mil, 12 miles by 12. It's a phenomenal sight. Fright. Picture the scene. The Jews, this towering mass of water rising, and the Jews had one thought: let's quick. The Gemara says, "Odam Bayarden," while they were still crossing the Jordan. Amar them Yehoshua. Yehoshua says, "I have something to tell you." Imagine the reaction of the Jews. By all means, as soon as we cross over. No, by all means. Odam Bayardeh. He said, I have something which I must tell you now. What it actually so urgent that it has to be told now. You can't wait 5 minutes. Certainly, probably something urgent, like Shabbos, right? Or not kosher food. Something urgent. No. Dam Bayardeh, אמר להם יהושע, דעו על מה אתם עוברים את הירדן. Know why you are crossing the Jordan. Of course, the Jordan. We're actually crossing the Jordan to go to shore. Yeshiva, right? על מנת שתורישו את יושבי הארץ מפניכם, in order to drive the inhabitants out of the land. אם אתם עושים כן, if you will do this, מותר, good. ואם לאו, and if not, באים מים, these waters. That's why I'm telling you now, he says, so that you should see these waters. באים מים, שוטפים אותיכם, אותי ואתכם. These waters will come and sweep away you right now. That was the thing, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu knew that if he didn't do that, all the rest would be worthless. If he did not clear them out so that we could build a Jewish state, not only would Jews be threatened physically, but it also would not be the kind of a state that he wanted. And then there was no purpose in freeing the Jews from Mitzrayim, because the whole purpose was to build a specific, unique, separated, isolated Jewish state. And so, and Yeshua came to Eretz Canaan. Chazal tell us in 2 places, in Medrash, in Vayikra, and in Yerushalmi, Shviz, that Yeshua sent 3 messages. Really 1 message with 3 choices to the Goy. He said, those who want, Misha Rotzela Hashlim, Yashlim. One who wants to make peace, make peace. But we'll see making peace. Which means, Misha Rotzela Yilachem, Sheyilachem. Misha Rotzela Yifanot, one who wants to leave, have a choice. Leave, make peace under the condition that we'll see soon, or fight. Those are the conditions. Now, what are the conditions for peace? And this is halakha. This is halakha. We're not putting. This is a game here of politics. In Shofti, Parshat Shofti, sorry. Ki tekrav el ir yilachem aleha. When you draw nigh unto a city to fight. The Chumash now is teaching us the laws of war. Jews have now attacked a city. I want to immediately tell you, because unfortunately, so many Jews who really have no idea so they babble about nonsense. So they'll say, it probably means, in those days, the war against the Zionist, meaning the Canaanite nations. So before anything else, let me tell you that the Sifri and Rashi bring this. So those, there are those that have never seen a Sifri, but Rashi says Rashi. Harishut HaKatuv is a. It's talking about a violent. There are 2 kinds of wars in Judaism: a Mechemet Mitzvah, and a obligatory war. That's the 7 nations and Amalek, and any war in which the Jews are attacked. That's an obligatory war. And then there's Rishut when Jews want to start a war. Chemet Rishut, you have to have Navi, and a Sanhedrin, and so on. But this is talking about a Chemet Rishut, much more so about mitzvah. When you come nigh onto a city to fight against it, Vikarata Eleha Lishalom. The first thing, peace. First thing you have to say, you want peace? Yes. You have to first have peace. Come to the city, peace now, immediately. Peace. See what the Torah means by peace now. Vaya'im Shalom. And if they answer, yes, we want peace. Ufatchala. And they open their gates, meaning they surrender. That's what peace means. They surrender. So what do you do if they surrender and they want peace? Now these are nice Arabs. They've all surrendered and you want peace. All the people found in that city. Yulecha lamas v'avaduch. They shall be tributes and servants. Nisim v'avdut. That's what it is. That's what Lashlim means. If they want to surrender and live in Eretz Israel, they have to be Limas v'avaduch. Nisim v'avdut. The Sifri says on this. Ratzu mas v'lo avdut, avdut v'lo mas. If they say, all right, mas, yes, but avdut not, or avdut, yes and not, lo shomim leh. You know, listen, ad sheyikablu alehem mas v'avdut, until they accept mas v'avdut, tribute and servitude. That's what they must accept. Otherwise, they can't stay. The Rambam, who is, of course, an enlightened Rishon, not a progressive one. Knesset announced that the year 1985 was the year of the Rambam, was a moving thing. The Rambam says the following, and he brings down the halacha. He brings down the chot melachik, the Rav halacha. Brings down the Sifri, you blow a mask, v'lo avdut, ein shomim lehem, and he comes to the problem. He now says, what is this avdut? What does avdut mean? What is the definition of avdut? V'ha'avdut sheyikablu, and I want you to listen carefully, because if I were to write these words, I don't know what they would call me. But thank goodness that's the one who is the year of the Rambam wrote it. V'ha'avdut sheyikablu sheyu nivzim u'shfelim lemata. Now translate that for those people that aren't yet shaking. If you're not shaking yet, that means that you didn't understand what I just said. In order for the non-Jew to stay in Eretz Israel, he has to accept the avdut, which means they have to be nivzim. Low, shady, shameful and low. Below yarimu rosh klam b'Yisrael. They cannot lift their head up in Israel. Ela yukvushim tachat yada. They have to be conquered by the Jews. Below yitmanu al Yisrael b'shum davar shebaolam. They're not allowed to be appointed over a Jew to anything ever. Now, I want to tell you, if I'm a racist, what shall we say about the Nesher Hagadol, the great eagle, the Rambam? That's why, when I presented a bill in Knesset, word for word, and didn't tell
where it came from,
the speaker where it came from, he banned it. He said it's a racist bill. It's not funny, it's tragic. And the Rambam goes further. Melachim Perek Aleph, Halacha Dal, and he brings down from the Gemara in Yevamot. He brings down the pasuk Lo tuchal latek alecha ish nochri. You are not allowed to have over you as a king a foreigner. V'lo lemalchut bilvad, not only for kingship are you not allowed to have the gold. Ela lechol hasrarot sheb'Yisrael, any authority in Israel. No tzava, no captain, no officers in the army. Afilu mimuneh alamat hamayim, even the paki, the clerk in the Uriah, who handles the water, who controls the water. Ve'en tzarich lomar, there's no need to say a dayan, a judge, a nasi, an officer, president, a Knesset member. Shelo yehei ela miYisrael, can only be a Jew. Kol misimot shata mesim, all authority that you appoint, lo yu ela mikerev achecha, can only be from your brother Jew. Now, if it is not clear to every person sitting here in this room that the things that I say are not political, but are halacha de Moshe Sinai, I don't know what more I can say. And I think it is important that if there are rabbis who say Kahane is wrong, a rabbi, a Ben Torah, doesn't debate with another rabbi that is wrong. He debates along a certain way. He brings sources. You speak like a Ben Torah. Let's see the other sources. Let's see the sources. So of course there's a problem. There are no other sources. There are no sources. This is the source. This is Judaism. This is democracy. For the simple reason that Judaism is not democracy. So it's difficult living in America and enjoying democracy and saying Judaism doesn't believe in democracy. It's true. That's a problem. So the answer is that if you find it difficult, so don't live it. That's a good question. Certainly don't import to Israel all the sicknesses that we have here. That's Ol Malchut Shamayim. That's the yoke of heaven. Sometimes it is terribly difficult to accept certain mitzvot precisely because of our environment. It's not we who decide what is right and what is wrong. It's up to us to decide. That's what the Mishnah means when it says that if someone is walking, just thinking about Torah, and he's thinking about the mitzvah of Kan Sipor. We have a very nice mitzvah. If someone is walking along and sees a nest, he sees eggs there. I say the eggs, but the mother is nesting on them. So he has to first drive away the mother so that she shouldn't see them. If someone is walking thinking about this and he says, God is so merciful that he even has pity on a bird. We say to him, be quiet. Why be quiet? It's true. It's a nice merciful mitzvah. What's so awful about that? So the Gemara says because he turns this mitzvah into mercy. It's a mitzvah. If you start doing mitzvahs because you say, what a nice mitzvah, you are setting the standard. You like the mitzvah. You don't do the mitzvahs, you like the mitzvah. Even if you did like the mitzvah, you do the mitzvah. And if your standard now is, do I like the mitzvah, what happens if you come across a second one that you don't like? Don't keep it. The word mitzvah comes from the word tzal, a commandment. Like it, don't like it. That's why the Kodesh Baruch Hu lifted up at housing. And incredible. Gemara tells us, Gemara Shabbos tells us, that when Jews are at housing, he lifts up the mountain And he says, if you accept the Torah, good. If not, you can all die. And the other said, now 7 Ishmael. Wow. I know, I think something. He had a persuasive argument. What is the word telling us? Simple. Pashtut is not. Simple. Chumash tells us that God said, and they said, now 7 Ishmael, and they accepted. No, before he took them out. What are you trying to tell us? The Baruch Baruch Hu said, I know that at this moment, after having seen the 10 plagues in Kriyat Yamsu, you're in a good mood, and you'll accept anything that I say. I want you to know that you don't accept it. It's all Torah, because now you're in a good mood, you accept it. You accept it because whether you like it or not, that mountain is over you. That's what we have to uproot from ourselves all the goyishkeit that is sneaked in. We have to be biting chametz every single day. We have to search out the 11 every single day. Living here, the 11 comes in every day. Every day the goyishkeit is in. So first of all, you shouldn't be living. You should not be living. It's a terrible, terrible sin. You can stand on your heads and all kinds of reasons and so on. That's all nonsense. You know the truth. You know what you should do. And it's not an excuse to say it's hard to make a living. That's true, it's hard to make a living. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. When our grandparents and great-grandparents came to America in 1880 and 1890, if you didn't work Shabbos, you didn't have a job. So what do you say? I work Shabbos, otherwise you got to push God, and you push. It was hard to make it. It was difficult. It's not easy to reach it. You think everything is easy, nice, and so sure. In our day, today, in 1987, it's easy. A 5-day work week. So Shabbos is easy. Kosher, everything is kosher today. Oh, you, oh, Z, oh, X, oh, A, everything. Of course it's easy. For women to cover their hair, of course it's easy. I see ears in the Jewish press is frightening. You can look gorgeous. Certainly. But the test of a Jew, a Ben Torah who is keeping mitzvahs, are those mitzvot that are difficult. That's the test. Not the easy ones. It's a mitzvah to eat Shalom Shabbos. Boy, I keep that mitzvah further. But that's not how one judges a Jew. Is really cruel. It's tzaddik, and when I told you, the righteous shall live by their faith. Difficult laws. And when we find those that are contradictory to Western concepts, and Western concepts must go, no matter how hard it is for us. And you should cleave onto it. You cleave onto it. That's what the Ibn Ezra said. That's the great secret of Judaism. That's the secret. To cleave onto God whether you like it or you don't like it. Indeed, the more you don't like it and you do it, that's when the mitzvah is working on the person. What is the purpose of a mitzvah if not to take the me that's inside each one? Each of us has inside us me. I. The ego. And the purpose of the mitzvah is to take that ego and to bend it and to tie it down. That's what the mitzvah is. If you do a mitzvah because you like it, nothing much is happening inside you. If you do the mitzvah despite the fact that it goes against your brain, a lot is happening. A lot is happening. This is Torah. In practice, because Jews don't do it, we are suffering today. And God usually doesn't punish through miracles. He generally gives us midah keneged midah, measure for measure. We pay the consequences of our own action. You don't want to throw the Arabs out. Good. Don't throw the Arabs out. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Last month, in the Shomron, a mother, 32 years old, was driving with her family in Shomron, Kalkilia. And a Molotov cocktail was thrown into the car and she burned up. Or from Moses. Her two children, 8 and 5 years old, are now in Baylands in hospital. Tikva burned over 90% of the body. You think that that's bad? Let me tell you what's really bad. Kalkilia, where this incident took place, until the Six-Day War, was a very, very special. It was the center of Arab terror. Every night the Arabs would go from that town to Saba, Banya, and the Jews destroyed. For years the Jews in Little Israel dreamed of that day when we would take vengeance on them. Someday we'll get them in Kalkilia. And then that day came, the Six-Day War. Then Sahel burst across the border, and the Arabs fled. The Arabs fled. Every Arab in that town fled and terror, all the way to the Jordan. I hope to get over the Jordan River. Kalkilia was Arab right, free, empty, clean. And then Moshe Dayan, the Minister of Defense, sent the Tzanchanim, the paratroopers, to the Jordan. He said, catch them and bring them back. Not to punish them, God forbid, yes, but we are merciful. But he said, Chas v'shalom, God forbid that the world should not think that there is a new wave of refuge. So he brought back the 7,000 Arabs to come to Kenya, where today they are 30,000. Of course, they have learned to hold them. They multiple. 2 Jews have been killed in Kalkilia in the past year. Every day, Arab Jewish cars are stuck. Jews are afraid. And that's the Rahmanut Shel Tipshim that I'm speaking about. Two years ago, we freed 1,150 terrorists in an exchange for 6 soldiers. Among them were various murderers of Jews. And among those was the Arab who murdered a young Jew, a yeshiva student, Aaron Gross. Aaron Gross from Staten Island. His family came from Staten Island. Aaron was a 19-year-old student learning in yeshiva. He was killed in broad daylight in the shul. If you want to meet the murderer of Aaron Gross, you can do so. Every day, he's a guide, he's a tour guide for non-Jewish tours. And he takes them to the place and he shows them where he killed Gross and he describes what he did. I want to tell you something. I am convinced that we Jews are not normal. It is almost unbelievable. It is a pathological sickness.
Why was he freed?
Exchange of prisoners.
Oh, that was the
Not the
exchange.
prison, terrorists. An exchange of terrorists for soldiers. Because terrorists equal soldiers. Now, 4 months ago, I sat in in the proceedings of a trial, a military trial in the Beit Din Israel, in the military court in Lod. And the trial was for the murderers of a young Jewish soldier named Moshe Tamam. Moshe Tamam was a 19-year-old soldier. First of all, let's understand something. For 2,000 years, we waited for a Jewish soldier. For 2,000 years, they had the soldiers. And we saw the soldiers from the other side. Finally, someday we'll have a state, we'll have an army, we'll have soldiers. Oh, state, army, south. The soldier named Moshe Tamam in August of 1984, a young soldier, 19 years old, is standing at Summit Bedley, the Bedley Crossroads. Those of you who have been to Israel know the Bedley Crossroads. Are not found near Damascus, or near Sinai. Netanya, that's where the Bedley Crossroads are. Netanya, the road to Netanya. It's the heart of Israel. You can't get more heart of Israel than Netanya. So picture the scene now. Jewish state, Jewish highway, Jewish soldier, broad Jewish daylight, it stands hitching a ride. Here is what I heard as I sat in the courtroom and I heard the story. Car stops. In the car are 4 Arabs. Immediately I want to warn you. You immediately think that these are probably dead Arabs. Not sure going from the West Bank or walking the bank of North America, whatever. From Jordan. No, I want each one to know immediately that these were 4 Arabs. Mishalan Arabs, Israeli Arabs from Rockaway, Galvia, an Israeli Arab village, 9 kilometers from Netanya, inside the Green Line. Not God to the Yaki, Chas v'shalom. Israeli Arabs, unsere, out, citizens of Israel. We've got Zuhut, identity card. Speak Hebrew fluently, better than you do. 4 Arabs to whom we gave everything. Education, job, housing, every event. Now you see what they gave us in return. After all, here is fit. They stopped the car, asked the soldier where he was going. He told them where. They said, get in the car. That's exactly now the direction. He got in the car, and they took him to Baka al-Galbi. There for 2 days, they tortured him. They cut out his eyes, and they cut off his sexual organs and killed him. And you never heard it. I don't blame you. We didn't hear about it either in Israel. It wasn't on TV. It wasn't on radio. It was chas v'shalom that we should puncture the myth of Jewish-Arab coexistence. Jewish-Arab coexistence. It's such a pleasure. First of all, it's a pleasure seeing how Arabs coexist with other Arabs. It's such a pleasure. I tell you, watching them living together in Lebanon, that is a model. Shiites and Sunni and Druze and Christians and Hezbollah. Each one kills the other one, such a pleasure. But naturally, though, they have a little trouble living with each other, but there's no problem. We Jews will live with them, of course. Moshe Tamam's murderers were given life sentences. And at the end of the trial, they stood up and made the sign of the V. And one shouted, in a year, we'll be out in an exchange of prison. And he's probably right. This is the tragedy. He's probably right. As Af Hashem, when we have power, there will be an automatic death penalty for every single Arab who crosses the border. You cross the border, and he's caught, he's dead. You're caught, you're dead. That's an incentive not to cross borders. The reason why there is no death penalty is because there is a large body of opinion in Israel that believes one is not allowed to kill people. I remember when Adolf Eichmann, the night that Eichmann was hanged, Martin Buber thinkers. One of the great thinkers about I, thou, me, you, we, who. The reason why it's so difficult to really grasp Buber what he's saying isn't because it's because he's confused. Martin Buber stood with 6 other boo-boos outside government prison, carrying signs protesting the execution of Kahane. And if this present fellow who's on the trial, if he gets sentenced, it won't be 6 people. It'll be 6,000 people. Because we have come a long way since Buber. Moshe Tamam's mother said to me at the funeral, she said, back in 84, she said, if only he would have been killed fighting for the country, Echatzi Nechama, I should come. I've been killed hitching a ride 5 kilometers from the house. What kind of company is it? She's right. She's right. She's right. How they catch them? What's the difference? 2 years later they were caught. They were caught. A different gang had killed other soldiers, and they were caught, and they talked. What's the difference? Why do we? The truth of the matter is, when I sat in Rockaway prison, I was in Rockaway prison for 8.5 months in administrative arrest, which is a lovely form of democracy in Israel. There's no trial, which I don't mind because I like to save the country money. But not just that, they also don't tell you what the crime, what the charge, which don't bother me because I'm just naturally curious. Naturally curious. I sat with Arab terrorists, of course. In the prison of Israel, they mix Jews and terrorists together. It's a democracy. I sat with an Arab terrorist who murdered 2 Jews in Haifa, and he received a very severe sentence. He received 5 life sentences, which is frightening because it's even worse than 4. In August of 1980, as I was sitting in the yard, I was sitting learning. He walked over. For some reason, he came over and he said to me these words that I never forget. Fat fellow. He used to work in the kitchen, which is why the kitchen was always kosher. And he said to me, Shmaka, he said, listen, someday my friends will kidnap some of your soldiers and I'll go free. So he went free with the 1150. He went free. Killed 2 Jews. These are the things that frustrate me because you don't hear about them. You don't hear about them. You think that you know Israel. A Jew visits Israel. He sees the coat. He sees Masada and the bar at the Plaza Hotel. He thinks he's Israel. What do you see in Israel? Israel. It's happening. Tragedy there. 4,000 Jewish women today in Israel married to Muslims. Married to Muslims. In order, under present law, for a Jewish woman to marry a Muslim, she has to convert to Islam. 4,000 Jewish women converted to Islam. Most of them are Sephardic girls who, when they lived in the exile, in Morocco, in Iraq, in Egypt, or Syria, didn't know what it meant to even look at that point. Bothers anyone, whoever raised this issue until we got into the Knesset. Whoever spoke about it. The NIP spoke about it. Al-Buddha spoke about it. Who spoke about it? The main thing was money for the institution. And I know that it's necessary to have money for the institution, but at what price? At what price? When I speak about the 4,000 Jewish women that are married to Arabs, I don't talk about the 10, 15,000 other Jewish women that live with Arabs, not through marriage. And I certainly don't talk about all the Jewish prostitutes whose pimps are Arabs. And that's also a wonderful holiness, a kedusha in Eretz Israel. But who raises these issues? I do. So I'm called a racist. When people come to me and say, you are obviously racist because the other parties are also fru, and they're not called racist. You're right, of course. That's true. That's true. If you shut up and keep your mouth closed and don't speak about it, no one will ever call you racist. But in Oil Harbor, they'll call you other names. This present government is fallen. That there's no question. The odd couple is finally getting divorced. So, finally, they're getting divorced. It's a matter of time only. It's an incredible sight. Cabinet goes one way, and the Prime Minister goes off and does his thing. 2 months ago, Paris went to Egypt to talk about the peace conference. Shamir called him a press conference to announce, I hope that he fails. Even in any civilized country like Fiji or I mean, they would allow such a thing. If the Prime Minister did that, he'd be fired. What kind of nonsense is those? I mean, it's sanity. Peace conference. Of course, peace conference. The only thing that's stopping us having peace is the fact that the Chinese and the Russians aren't in the region. Of course, that's not the point. Shimon Peres is not a fool. He isn't a fool. He's a Russian. He's not a fool. He knows there's no peace conference. He's using it to bring down the government so that there'll be no election, and he'll be the prime minister. So he thinks the fact that it's a body blow to Israel. That's the price that the Jewish people must pay for Shimon Peres to be the prime minister. Not for nothing is Peres listed among the unclean birds. In any case, I said that to the New York Knesset, so I was tossed out of the Knesset. It was worth it. In any event, there's going to be an election. Please God, I want you to know. Zrat Hashem, in this election, there's only one person in Israel that wants an election more than Paris. That's me.
That's right.
It's this election. We are going to be, Zrat Hashem, the third largest party. Not only the third largest party, but a big third largest party. And Lashon HaMaznayim, the balance of power, there will not be able to be a Likud government without us. And we have demands. We are going to do something that has never been done in the history of Israel. We're not going to ask the cabinet seats. But we're going to list non-negotiable demands. You can have the seats and the money. Demands, non-negotiable. One. On the day that the government takes office, every one of the Jewish underground goes on that. Not the next day, on that day, or there's no government. And we'll have the seats. By our not joining the cabinet, it's true that we don't get money, but we are also not bound by an agreement that limits us. They're bound. We will give them our support in the Knesset. But on the minute that we don't like what they're doing, we don't give them support. So they'll have to watch their step every step of the way. And we know. That's the pleasure and the privilege of being poor. Tremendous to be poor. Tremendous. Two. Once and for all, we are going to put a stop to this charade. Already it's been 16 years, the charade of who's a Jew. Within 30 days of the government being formed, there will be a government bill, not a private member's bill, a governmental bill which will enforce discipline on all governmental Knesset members to change who is a Jew, the definition according to Halakha. The Liberal Party would have been willing to do this last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there would have been such a bill a long time ago. 3. There is no way that we are going to continue to watch missionaries roam around Israel free. There is going to be this nonsense demonstrating against the Mormons. The Mormons will pay you to demonstrate every single day. Meantime, they're building. The only answer is a Knesset bill which makes it a felony to proselytize a Jew. That's what's going to be a 5-year jail sentence for any missionary. Also Jews. Any Jewish missionary is going to be put into jail. Unfair. The Mormon building, we can't stop, unfortunately, we don't have the power. But I wrote last year to Ezra Ted Benson. I said, we can't stop it now, but no, that if you build it, when we take office, we're going to nationalize it and turn it into a yeshiva. That's what we're going to do. 4. Today, every Jewish youngster in Israel at the age of 18 is drafted in the army, and he has to give 3 years of his life to the army, which Hashas says. 8 years, serve the army. An Arab reaches the age of 18. There's no army. He gets married. By the time the Jew is out of the army, he has already 2 children. Money in his pocket, taxes, doesn't pay. Army doesn't serve. We're going to demand that every Arab in Israel, while he's still there, before we take office, every Arab in Israel at the age of 18 will give 3 years of national service working on the roads. 3 years.
Got it down pat.
I want them to get a taste. If this is what it's like when Kahane is only part of the government, what's going to be when he's the government? 5. We subsidize Arab children by paying them checks each month from Bituach Leumi, from National Insurance. Every Arab child below the age of 18, the parent gets a check each month for every child below the age of 18. 10 children. That's the way it is. So it's democracy. Encourage birth. That's what it is. It was meant, of course, for the Jews. Their original taxes they don't pay. It's a democracy. We are going to demand that Bituach Leumi National Insurance be transferred from the government to the Jewish agency, a non-governmental agency, and from that point on, checks only paid to Jews. Of course they are, but Jews don't have babies, they have abortions. We pay close to 1 billion shekel a year in subsidies to Arab babies.
What is that in American money?
About $600 million.
Where does this come from? That's the check she has.
No, my taxes too. I pay taxes. There are many, many other things, but that is, in general, what we are going to create a revolution in Israeli society. We are going to change the school system. We are going to make Jews Jewish. We are going to make youngsters. Because if they're not Jewish, and if they don't feel Jewish, they won't stay in the country. In order to stay in Israel and accept burdens of army duty and reserve duty and taxes, when you could be instead living in West Lawrence, you have to know what being Jewish. You have to feel Jewish. And the privilege of being in Eretz Israel. What secular Saba feels that? Who feels that they would put a joke in? He doesn't even feel Jewish. if you ask the average Sabra who he is, he says, I'm an Israeli. That isn't an identity. An Arab can also be an Israeli. A Druze can be an Israeli. A Chinaman can be an Israeli. The secular schools of Israel are disasters, bankrupts. And we're going to change that. Eventually, when we have power, there will be no secular schools. There's no such concept as a secular school. All the public schools in Israel will be schools that teach Judaism. And if the parents that don't want that, they have an option of a chinuch asmoi. They can form a private school system, which is secular. But the public schools in Israel, all of them, teach Judaism. And I want you to know one other thing and a final point. One of the great tragedies of Israel is the split today between the secular Jew and the religious Jew. People think that how many religions? And they're right. If there wouldn't be a Kach movement, is there one religious party that would have any secular Jews voting for it? Of course not. The curious thing is that the Kach movement, a religious party, 80% of its voters are non-observant Jews. Unbelievable. Because we talk about Shabbos, and they know that we talk about Shabbos. First of all, when we talk about Shabbos, we first file a bill for a 5-day work week. You can't talk about Shabbos without giving them an extra day off. Of course, they have to have 1 day free in which they can play football and ear ball and nose ball and elbow ball. Of course, they have to have that. It's impossible to talk about Shabbos if that's the only day that they have off. And then they can't ride and they can't do it. It's absurd. So we are going to demand a 5-day work week. And don't tell me, but the country can't take it economically. Maybe stay home. Don't worry about that. On Sunday, from Saturday night until Monday morning, they can do whatever they want. Drive from Dan to Eilat. They will have exactly what they have now, 1 day to do whatever they want, but it'll be called Sunday. And in addition to that, we're going to also give them a bonus called Shabbos. That's how you deal with it. The reason why they vote for me and they come to me is because I don't only talk about Shabbos. I talk about questions that affect them, that bother them. Arabs, that bothers them. You can't just have parties that talk about issues of dat. First of all, I can't stand that concept of dat. There's no concept of dat. Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is a totality of life. There are laws of Shabbat and laws of Arabs. They're both found in the interim. There's laws of kosher foods and laws of can one give up land. And a religious Jew and a religious leader speaks about all these issues. That's when they come to you. To come to a Kach meeting is to see a religious movement in which people are sitting without yarmulkes. And that's good. Because if they wouldn't be there, they'd be sitting without yarmulkes elsewhere. And on our list, on our party list, not only from people, it's people that are not from too, but who accept every tenet and every religious issue. Let's say Shabbos bill is going to be presented not by a Jew with a yarmulke, but dafka by a Jew without a yarmulke, who will get up and explain the reason why I'm presenting a Shabbos bill is because for me Shabbat is a Jewish national issue. That's how you bring them together and closer. Certainly.
How are you so sure that you're going to get that?
First of all, I'm still speaking as a person. Only in the Knesset am I interrupted.
How are you?
In the meantime, I'm in America and I have a few more days left of solace. Bezrat Hashem, the election's coming and we are going to be big. And not only big for this election. The next election is when all the Sephardic kids that are 14, 15, and 16 will be voters. They never heard of bacon. Those kids never saw bacon, never heard bacon. They only know God. And they come to my rallies every night, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of Jewish kids who are going to be voters. And they don't know anything. Kahane, give. Wait until the next election. That's when there's a quantum leap. That's when we're going to be number one, and that's when Kach will lead the government. The Kach is you don't live as yet in Eretz Israel. And I need your help. Because this election is going to be the most important one in Israel's history. If we don't make a tremendous show, I know that we have 10 seats. I know that. That's not enough. I want more. I'm greedy. Because we have to, within a few years, make up for all the horrors of 40 and 50 years. I need your help. That means money. And that means money. So I know everybody here, this is, now I'm serious. This is a Kehillah which really, really gives money. That ain't Yeshiva's institution. Everybody comes and asks money. I'm not going to raise money for an institution. If there's Chas Shalom, no Israel, all the institutions that you're supporting are going to be there. I'm talking about the survival of Israel. I'm talking Chas Shalom to prevent a terrible Holocaust. The Arabs are multiplying at a rate that is frightening. If they could, they would kill us all, as they tried to in the 1920s and 1930s. That's what they're trying to do again. We have to stop that. And we have to stop not only Arabs, we have to stop Jews. Arabs are not the problem. Arabs are not the problem. Jews are the problem. Jews who run the government and who don't stop this. So, I'll be taking questions soon. But before that, I ask you all to sit quietly. I want you to, this is Ken Sidney, and he's the national chairman of Kahane here in the United States. Just a few words from him because it's important. I really didn't travel 5,000 miles for you to sit and applaud me and say, it's wonderful. If I'm Michael, I need to meet you. We have to, I'm working hard, very, very hard, to make sure that this election will be the turning point in Israel's history of our times.
Just like to tell you that when I took this job in January as director of Kahane, I did so at a personal loss, a financial loss to myself of tens of thousands of dollars. But I did it willingly because as much as what Rabbi Kahane said and told you here tonight about how hopeful we are for the future, we're in a desperate race against time to save our Jewish state, and there are no guarantees. When I asked my parents about the Holocaust and why didn't they help, why didn't they give, why didn't they do something to save the Jewish house that was burning, they told me they didn't know. They didn't know what was happening. But after hearing Rabbi Kahane, I know that our Jewish house is burning and time is running out. And now you know that we haven't much time left. And none of you can be on the front lines in Israel fighting with Rabbi Kahane, and none of you can vote. But what we can do here tonight is we can give Rabbi Kahane the power and the means with which to change Israel and save our Jewish state by giving him dollars to carry on his campaign and spread his message. We can create history tonight, and I believe we're at a historic moment right now as the government falls. Because the greater number of seats we get, the greater chance we have of saving Israel. So I'd like someone to start off tonight with a generous donation and help Rabbi Kahane change Jewish history and save the Jewish state? Who's first? Avi?
On behalf of the Rabbi family, we contribute $2,500.
Who else with a generous contribution that will match that, or better yet, beat it? And when we talk about a generous contribution, we're not talking hundreds. We're talking the survival of the Jewish state. What is a Jewish life worth to you here tonight? Who else? Generous contribution. I think it's important to realize that it's not enough to applaud Rabbi Kahane and to say you agree with him and to nod, yes, 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 you're right. If you want to show your love for the rabbi, then show us your love with dollars. Reach into your pockets and contribute. If you make your checks out to the Jewish overview, it'll be tax deductible. And that way, Ronald Reagan can pay to make Rabbi Kahane prime minister. So make your checks out to the Jewish overview. Who else? Another contribution, generous. Speak to me. Speak to me, not in words, but in dollars. I have a brother. His name is Yaakov. His name a year ago was Jay. He went to the yeshiva. But when Jay was in Boston, which is where I came from, and he heard Rabbi Kahane was coming, he would give Rabbi Kahane $500 cash every time he came in. Jay was a taxi cab driver. And what he did was he would work extra days and nights to raise the money because he considered it an obligation to help Rabbi Kahane and help the Jewish people. Now, I would venture to guess that there are many of you here who make more money than my brother, the taxi cab driver. And so I'd like to see someone else with another generous contribution. So far, Avi stands alone. Who else? Yes, you could give less than, we will accept contributions less than $2,500. $24.99, that's it. No. Someone come forward. I know that you just didn't come here just to feel good and to nod. And the question that I have to ask, of course, is really, we have a chance to prevent a terrible tragedy. And for what are you saving your money? What are you saving your money? What better investment to make of your money than to save the Jewish state? And who else will do it except for Rabbi Kahane? Tonight you can help elect the future Prime Minister of Israel. Yes?
Yeah, I gotta get $300.
$300. If you don't have a check on you, we'll take your name and address down and we'll send you a pledge card.
I have a check from Joe Kaplan for $100.
$100. Who else? Shifra?
I can't afford to give what Avi gave. We live in Israel. I just want to tell you that I visited the families whose sons and soldiers were killed by the Arab terrorists, and every one of them said, go and speak about Rabbi Kahane, because he will save other families from what we experienced. And I know that when you're giving tonight, you're not giving to Meir Kahane, you're giving to the Jewish people and Jewish state. And I will make an anonymous contribution, but I hope you will make it more.
Nat Rubin, $100.
$100. Yes?
Mr. and Mrs. McCarthy, 10 times high.
10 times high, $180. Make sure that you take the name and address down if they don't have a check. Yes. 10th grade. Okay, now, can I tell you something? He is putting everybody else to shame. He is putting everybody else to shame because he is smart enough to realize that we're talking Jewish survival. And I would, what greater cause could you give me? Who else? Avi? Chefs?
Mrs. Yarmish, $500.
Mr. Yarmish, $500. Very, very good. Contributions of $250 or more will get an autographed copy of Rabbi Kahane's new book, Uncomfortable Questions for Comfortable Jews. We only have
Sylvia Case, $100. Thank you very much.
$100.
Miss Florence Harris, $50. Thank you very much.
Nathan Ruin, $100. I'd like to tell you one of the reasons why I'm working for Rabbi Kahane. That is because I believe he's a hero. I believe Rabbi Kahane is a hero, but he's a different type of hero. Most heroes are backed into a corner, and they're surrounded by enemies, and they have no choice but to be courageous or else they're dead. That's heroism. How much greater the heroism when you see the battle coming, and you fight it now so you don't have to be backed in the corner.
Strategy.
And the nice thing about Rabbi Kahane, the nice thing about Rabbi Kahane and why I enjoy working with him so much is that he wages the battle with a smile on his face. When I was in Boston and Rabbi Kahane came to speak for the first time, there was a tremendous protest brewing. And I got calls from all the media, and one newspaper man said to me, Ken, 389 ad hoc Jewish groups have condemned Rabbi Kahane as a racist, fascist, no good neck, etc. What is your response to that? So I thought for a moment, I said, well, those who can't debate, defame, which I thought was a pretty nifty response. It was my first time with a rabbi. So we're driving in the car the next day, and I asked the rabbi how he would have responded to the 389 ad hoc Jewish groups who condemned him. And he turned to me and he said, so what happened to the rest of the groups? In any case, you too can be heroes tonight with your checks if you make generous contributions.
I have a $300 contribution from a Betty and Abraham Seisner.
Very nice. Very nice. Can they get an autographed book?
I have a $180 contribution from a Herbert Goldman.
Tremendous. And we have a $100 contribution from a Donald Schwartzman, doctor. And a $200 contribution from Nancy Rudetsky. Thank you very much, Nancy. And a $100 contribution from Muriel and Harris Honickman. Thank you very much. And a $100 contribution from Selma Chaim Bieber. Thank you very much. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. We will stay up to midnight even.
Excuse me, I just want to tell you, I'm the mother of Michael Weinstein. I just want you to let you know that I'm the mother. I'm very proud about him. And I'm $100.
$100. Thanks very much. Harold Bendelson, $100. Thank you. Judah and Eddie Weiner, $100. $100 in cash.
$30 for Mrs. Ann Goldberg.
$30 for Mrs. Ann Goldberg. An anonymous contribution of $500. $500. Yes.
We're sweetening the pot from a 10 times high to 250. They must go.
All right. All right. Now you're speaking. Okay.
$20. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any more? Now we have plenty. Rabbi Kahane will take your questions in just a moment. Make sure to make your checks out to the Jewish Overview. They will be tax deductible. Robert Schondorf, $50. This is worth a minute. Robert works day and night for the rabbi and contributes money as well. In memory of Irvin Weinstein of Lawrence from Shaw Weinstein, $600. Harold and Norma Fiat, $100. Did I pronounce it right? Chiat, sorry.
An anonymous donation of $100.
$100. giving us something. Even if you can't afford $100, give us more. Everything that Rabbi Kahane earns tonight is very valuable in Israel, especially cash. And we have someone who came here tonight, Dennis Burster. Dennis? Yeah. Where is he? Dennis has been traveling with the rabbi and to groups like your own, to stimulate you people to help save Israel. And he's put down a challenge donation. For every $20 that you give now out of your pocket, he will match that $20. So it's like giving Rabbi Kahane $40 for $20. Who will start it off? Come on, reach into your pockets, $20. Who's going to make Dennis poor tonight? I'll tell you what. Okay, we've got $20. Come on, reach in. Is he? $20? No. Because it was after. A lot of people get. Another 20. Thank you very much. Who else? Great. Believe me, cash in Israel is very, very valuable. So if you can give Rabbi Kahane cash, it's tremendous. $20. Come on. Walk around, collect it, please. I see there are a lot of people who want to give it, but no one's there to collect it. Very good. Thank you very much. If you haven't given tonight, at least give him $40. You give him $40 by giving him $20. So it's a chance for you to do it. Double your mitzvah. $25. Who else? Who else? Come on, Dennis is going to get away cheap tonight. Last night in Florida, we had 40 people who chipped in $20. Another $20. Rabbi Kahane will not be able to fly back to Israel unless each of you give $20. Forget it. We can't pay for the plane ticket. Who else? Okay.
If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take questions.
I have a question.
Okay. First of all, let me say that by backing Rabbi Kahane with more than words, I want to congratulate you all as being good Jews who are willing to back up your appreciation with a little bit of action. Thank you very much.
Anonymous, $100.
Another $100? That's great.
Are there any questions? Yes.
I'm not so educated. I have to be honest.
Go ahead.
I don't know that much about politics.
Yeah, go ahead.
But from my inexperience, I never heard anybody from religious Orthodox call you a racist. I've never heard that. What I've heard is that we're in Gullus, and there seems to be on the Orthodox Jews certain guidelines about halacha and Gullus and what a Jew's situation in the world is and what he's allowed to do while he's in Gullus and not. As for, like some people even debate whether we're allowed to have a state of Israel, and maybe that's why we have so much problems with it, because we're not supposed to have it now.
Maybe one of the reasons why we have all those problems is because all you Jews are living here. Maybe if we had 6 million more Jews there, we wouldn't have the problem. Maybe one of the rationalizations of Jews who live in Borough Park and in Rockaway with their shaitos and chandeliers is because they don't want to go there. It's because it's hard to live there. It's difficult to live there. And your son will have to go in the army there. And so therefore we don't go there. And to rationalize it away, we say you're not supposed to start with the goy.
Well, it's halacha, they say.
Yes, I know what they say.
I hear it. I grew up with it. I grew up in Borough Park.
To say that.
There's a mentality involved, and I grew up with a certain mentality, and it's very hard for me to accept that.
I certainly accept that. And I think that you're absolutely right when you say that this is how you were born and you're raised and so on. You're absolutely right. That is the great tragedy, and that's why I started off the shir today with specifically speaking about
the tragedy of Jews who are unable to accept all Malchut Shamayim. Anyway,
What's your position on Gullus then? Is this such a thing as Gullus?
it's a bad thing.
Because, like, if God wanted us to have Israel, He never would have thrown us out to begin with.
Isn't that true? And that's why after He threw us out the first time, we went back to the Bayis Shem. If He wouldn't want to have the Bayis, He would have Bayis Shem. The tragedy is that of Jews, unbelievable. We have become not Reformed Jews, we have become deformed Jews. Deformed Jews. When the Kuzari writes that the reason why the Mashiach didn't come, why the Shekhinah didn't come back to Eretz Israel at the time of the second temple, the Bayis Sheni, was because most of the Jews in Babel refused to leave Babel and to come to Eretz Israel. And he based that upon the Gemara in Yuma, Adaf Et, Amud Bet. Now the Jews stayed in Golis, in Babel. The Gedolim stayed. The best Jews stayed. You know who went back with Ezra? Nehemiah? The Mamzerim came back. The losers went back. The losers went back. The winners stayed in Babel. And that was the great tragedy. Just like Jews never wanted to leave Mitzrayim, and they had their rationalizations. When the 12 spies came back and 10 of them said, it's a great place, it's a wonderful place, but it's dangerous. Going, tanks, giant. We saw giants there. So they said, let's go back to Mitzrayim. They didn't want to go back to Mitzrayim to assimilate. They wanted to go back to Mitzrayim to build yeshivas and live a full life there because it was dangerous to go there. It's Canaan. Every generation, every time, and Jews learn nothing. Never do they learn anything. Because Baruch Hu doesn't want us here. And if He would have wanted us, He wouldn't have given us a state. Do you think that He would have allowed us to have a state? What is this, some kind of a game here? We're in Golis for 2,000 years. We come back, and He doesn't really want it. The inability of people to see is incredible. And I don't blame you, because you were absolutely right. That's how you were raised and taught, and I understand. And that's the tragedy. That's the tragedy.
There's a station wagon with the license plate Irvitz that is blocking someone's driveway. So if someone has a station wagon. It's a station wagon. Irvitz is
All right, any other questions? Yes.
Is Kach a one-man party?
Kach?
Or is it capable of, let's say, surviving your retirement?
Is Kach capable of surviving my retirement? I gather that you are trying to put it in a very gentle way.
Nice as I could.
Yes, gently.
All right.
Are you trying to say that if they should somehow take care of me, would it survive? Yes.
I didn't say
Yes. Baruch Hashem, today Kach is a national movement in Eretz Israel. We have tremendous people, talented people, the people that you will please God hear about as soon as they're in the Knesset, people who really believe in the ideology and act it out and have the talent to carry it through. So, first of all, I would hope that I won't retire soon. I hope they don't retire me either. But the fact is that, thank God, there is a movement, and a big one.
In March, a poll was taken in Israel called from the Modi'in Ezrahi organization. Now, they had you down for 4 seats. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to make, because they had you down 4 seats, it's not Torah Misinai, but you had mentioned, look, Faket, many more than 4 seats. But you are basing your opinion about how many seats you will have in the next election on a poll. You know what I'm asking? In other words,
No poll.
just what your feeling is. That
In Hebrew, they always call it a seker. Midvar seker. Let me show that. The day that the Modine's poll came out, an article appeared in Yediot stating, we all know that for each person that admitted that he'll vote Kahane, there were two others that are afraid to say that they'll vote Kahane, but will vote. I don't take polls. I see my rallies every night since 1984, since the election. Every night we hold 2 rallies a night. You know how many rallies that is? I'm not allowed to appear on television or on radio. I'm barred. So instead of that, I go out to the people. You know what it is to shake 300 people's hands every single night? You know what it is once you shake somebody's hand and he grabs it and he hugs it and he kisses it and he says, Rakata? My polls are taken seeing rallies. Nobody can hold those. Nobody can draw that kind of crowds in Israel. This is the point. This is the point. So forget all this nonsense. First of all, for a year they were telling people that I would only get 2 seats. They realized that was so absurd that nobody believed it. So they decided to raise it to 4 seats. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. But why should I argue? You'll see her. I mean, you'll see her. It'll be an earthquake.
It's another, Avi, what is it, QFF 917?
QFF 917, a dark view of.
I got it.
Okay.
Yes.
What's keeping this together here? It should have been a long time ago fallen apart. Elections.
In great measure, we have kept it together. There was an editorial in Meir last year saying that by all logic this government should have fallen. It's the fear of Kach that's keeping them together. And in great measure that is true. There are other reasons also. Nevertheless, that's academic today. The government is not falling. Amnon Rubinstein's party quit the cabinet. He's the postmaster, the postman that took away my free mailing rights. The neighbors did punches.
Robert, why do you not have the public support of any recognized Torah authority?
As soon as I have 10 seats and money to give to all the yeshivas, you'll see how I get their support.
That's not a very respectful answer on our
That may indeed be true, but that's my answer.
It's an improper answer,
Sir, that's my answer. You may like it or not like it. You'll see. You will soon see. You will soon see. You don't think it's irrespectful? Fine. I didn't come here to play games with you. I came here to tell you that when I hear some gadol who tells certain representatives in Knesset that even if Kahane raises Torah issues, don't vote with him, you have an absolute choice of following him. You have an obligation also to ask him, why is it mutter to sit with kaifu? I don't even want to go into the Chil Hashem that are the Orthodox parties there, the sellouts and so on. I don't even want to go into that, the outrage there. They have a terrible name in Israel, and for good reason, The truth of the matter is that there were Gedolim and there aren't Gedolim, and don't tell me you don't have any recognized brother. It's a tragedy that when I sit with Gedolim privately, they will tell me, you're right. I can't get them to say it in public. And this is a tragedy. And I would suggest that you ask your question, not to me. If you want to know why Gedolim don't back me, ask them. I can only tell you if you say, why do I do what I do? I will tell you. Why do I think what I think? I will tell you. Why Gedolim? Which God? Rav Shach? Yeah, Rebbe. One says black, the other one says white. That's not a respectful thing. But that's the truth.
May I suggest what I think their
Please.
response would be?
Yes,
A
go ahead.
suggestion.
Which? Wait, 1 second. Who is they? The chief rabbinate? The Lubavitcher Rebbe? Rav Shach? What is this homogeneous group called the Gedolim?
I think the response of all of them would be the same, if I might suggest it to you. You spoke early in the evening as to the two main reasons why people don't tell the truth. One is love and one is fear. Perhaps there's a third reason. Wisdom. The third reason is wisdom. Not every truth should be told. The Rabbi Shalom himself told a lie to Avraham about Sarah. Sometimes it's harmful to tell the truth. Sometimes it can be a problem for Jews in other parts of the world for certain truths to be told. I think that they don't support you not because they don't agree, but they think that your views are unwise and harmful to Jews throughout the world. And without their support, I have a problem supporting you. Because I don't want to support Kahane, I want to support Torah. And until Kahane and Torah are synonymous, I can't support you.
But you live in a dream world in which you think that the Gedolim agree. I can tell you that Rav Shach thinks it is terribly unwise to anger the nation by not giving up land. The Ger Rebbe thinks you should not give up land. The Lubavitcher Rebbe thinks you should not give up land. The chief rabbinate thinks you should not give up land, even though that angers the nations. And as far as lying, the seal of the Eibishter is called emes.
Just choose one.
Don't tell me. Now, had you asked me instead of the way you asked the question, Rabbi Kahane, do you have someone that you asked, which you didn't ask? Would you like to ask me the question now?
Yes.
Oh, so then ask it.
You have a right.
Yes. When I have a question, when I have a shayla, I go to the Sephardic chief rabbi. Rabbi Eliyahu. That's my God.
Does he publicly support you?
Of course not. Of course not. Does he publicly support the NRP? No. Aguda? No. Shas? No. Who does the Lubavitcher Rebbe support publicly? Tell me one party.
He's a non-political person.
The chief rabbi is a political person. He's also a non-political person. He's also a non-political person.
Rabbi Kahane.
So therefore, if he asked me who do I speak to, I answer the question. Certainly, everyone has to have his God, of course, and I have mine.
Rabbi Kahane.
And the point is that he didn't name me a gadol that you know that came out and said, don't back up. The thing is that they don't say anything. And there's a reason for that. And when I said to you about your monies, not because you have disrespect, you don't live in Israel. Yeshivas get public funding from the government. They would not get that money if they backed me. And so the same Rav Shach, who went so far as to tell Agudat Yisrael not to leave the government over the abortion issue, over who was a Jew issue because they might lose money for the institutions. So he's going to tell them to jeopardize that over Kahane? My dear fellow, life is not, I learned in the Meir for 14 years, so I know what Kavod HaTorah is. I also know what the real world is. And the real world is money versus NIV. So there are Gedolim who said, talking about Yavra on this issue. Others who said no. Certainly no one has yet reached that point where he'll say, if a Kahane stand, we should go out and jeopardize funds. So far, not. That's why I said it'll be easier for them to back me when the threat to their funding is not there. That isn't being put down. I'm not happy with it. My dear fellow, you're sitting there. Tell me why Rav Shach told them not to leave the government over who's it.
I know that Rav Shach knows all the Rambams that you quote and all the Gemaras, and he and the others have chosen not to take the position that you did.
First of all, Babich Rebbe has said that we should throw the Arabs out. The Babich Rebbe said it. So the fact that you don't know that is a different story. The fact that Rav Shach says that we should give up land, the overwhelming majority don't say that. They don't say that. So don't tell me Rav Shach. There is a Rav Shach, and there are others. Don't speak about Gedolim. Speak about Gadol A, Gadol B, Gadol C, Gadol D, and Gadol E. Many of them differ on various issues.
Now say with Harav. You have Harav, that's all.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm of the opinion, really, I would like very much it should happen like Rav Mendel Bernstein said. But the emes is, you're living there, you see the problem, and you presented these problems to us. When I want what's kosher or treif, I would ask. If I know myself what to do, I don't ask. And you know what to do, and we back you.
Is a car blocking 4456 or something or other? It's a gray car, takes C or something?
Yes, but I have to know something.
Rabbi, in the course of your in the course of your early portion of discussion, you talked about the fact that the American educational system, we are taught democracy and we are taught various things. Among them, Jefferson, as opposed to being taught, say, Torah, as in the concept of being of Dveikus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, I agree with, and I imagine here everyone is extremely sympathetic to it. I think Jefferson might have been a poor example, since Jefferson was the one who stressed the statutes of religious freedom. Roosevelt might have been more appropriate. We learned many things. We learned many things in life, and I imagine among them, which is Divrei Chol, the abilities of Israeli pilots to fly F-15s and blow their sidewinders into Arab planes, and that's also a very good thing. And that's not Torah, but I think the Kadosh Baruch Hu smiles down upon them when they do that as well. What I'd like to ask you is, when your policies come into effect, and Yirtzeh Hashem, you obtain a certain amount of prestigious power in Israel, naturally you will acquire a great deal of animosity from the Umos HaOlam, who will find the Israeli government to be closing in close on South Africa for the number one spot in world unpopularity. How would you deal with the United States in terms to assure that the Israelis will obtain the amount of strategic aid that's necessary, and to make sure that the military hardware that's necessary for Israel's survival is not abated? That would be a real problem.
Yeah, well, it would be a real problem. I think that Jews have